And we're live. Welcome, everybody, to the 7th episode of the Transitional Champion podcast. I, of course, am Dirt, along here with my co-host, Napalm Nathan Kennedy. What's up, Napalm?
All right. I like that one. That one works. That's better than Nickelback. It's better than the political stuff you're throwing at me last week. Napalm. Yeah, that works. And life is like WWE. As I was saying, you're like, we got to start the show. But life is like WWE, has its ups and its downs. And usually it's mostly bad, but there's enough good stuff sprinkled throughout. It's like, you know what? I'm going to keep going. And that's kind of how
I'm not quite ready to commit suicide yet.
Yeah.
Based on the WWE product, but boy, are they trying. Okay, so, and actually the Napalm, I actually stole that from an email. We actually got an email from a viewer.
Uh-oh.
So here, let me switch over to this real quick.
How mad did you make them?
No, actually, let's see. This is from Nikolai.
Okay.
And Nikolai is actually in Russia.
Right on.
Actually, well, he calls it the former Soviet Union. But see, so I said something last week about how our podcast has like been picked up by weird sites I've never heard of and has been sent out there. And he says he listens to the show and he lists some website that's in Russian, and it's darsovsky.com.
Okay.
He loves the show. So anyway, he said, Dear Dirt and Napalm Nate Kennedy. So that's where I stole that from.
Okay.
He says, I love the show. Yes, it is being listened to over here in Russia. This is the normal place where I listen to podcasts. So I had no idea that this is not where you publish the show. But I'm glad to see that you've been added to our mix. Let's see. He said, guys, please don't head off into the Siberian wilderness yet and call it the end of your life cycle, because I'm sure there's going to be great stuff at WrestleMania. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So
that is a odd way to put that.
So let's see. He does ask though. You guys have joked about Brutus Beefcake, and it looks like he might or might not make it into the Hall of Fame. But is there anybody from the history of WWE that you think should be in the Hall of Fame?
I thought the dogs were going to bark for a second. Rick Rude. Man, put me on the spot with that one. Because I have to think about who all's already in.
Right. And that's the thing. The WWE Hall of Fame is not like a traditional Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not the greatest wrestlers of all time. It's not the greatest entertainers of all time. It has more to do with your connection to the company, or if WWE can somehow absorb the legacy of an older wrestler and claim that it's part of their championship lineage and whatever. Yeah. But honestly, with WWE, we do have a comment from YouTube. They say, I hope Gilbert is in the Hall of Fame.
You know what? May as well. I mean, he have Goldberg induct him. That would be
exactly.
That would be fun.
Well, it's because when I was thinking about this, because I've actually had a couple days to think about this, I'm like putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, because it's not a traditional wrestling Hall of Fame. There are a lot of people kind of I don't know how to say this, but like Coco Beware was a big talent for his day, but not necessarily someone who's big in the history of professional wrestling, right?
Right.
But somehow he's in the Hall of Fame, right? So we've kind of mentioned some of that with some of these different people. Harlem Heat just got announced,
which to me that is well deserved. I know Booker T like already went in individually, but I think Harlem Heat deserves it.
Only if they get inducted by Hulk Hogan, so they can relive the famous promo.
Yeah, which is still intact on the network, by the way.
But regardless, anyway, I was thinking about all the different things that it means to be in the WWE Hall of Fame and whatever. And so I was thinking what would actually make sense is if they were to induct as a group Scott Hudson, Tony Schiavone, and Mike Tenay. And it would make sense to induct those three as a group as the WCW announcers, because they were the voice. They were, outside of Bischoff. And the honestly, the great way to do it is to have them come to the Hall of Fame and then do spots with Mark Madden where he can't get in the building, the way they did with Heenan on the first live Raw.
Yeah.
Right. So Mark Madden can't get in. He's not part of the group. He can't get into the Hall of Fame, but the other three are inducted. And not only that, but Mike Tenay, he really does not get a lot of credit that he deserves.
Yeah.
He really is someone tied deep into the roots of professional wrestling. He does know a lot of the history. He does know a lot of the old workers. He did know a lot of the old black and white TV era guys.
Yeah.
And Tony Schiavone is someone who has stuck with the business, most recently working with Major League Wrestling. So he's still a guy, that's involved in the world of professional wrestling in one way or another. So, and they did have the guys come back before, I think, when they did the gimmick battle royal, maybe WrestleMania match. I think they had the guys there because they did.
That was Mean Gene and Bobby Heenan.
But I remember Scott Hudson being backstage and doing some.
I think, he was still tied to the company for a little bit because he was there to do commentary when they had that WCW match on Raw. The main evented with Booker T and Buff Bagwell. It was him and Arn Anderson, of all people. But you know what? That's a good idea. And Mike Tenay doesn't get enough credit because if it wasn't for him, then he had a lot to do with the cruiserweights in WCW, because every time they would have a match, Tenay would be there to talk about them. Here's their history. Here's this to teach the audience who these guys are and what they mean and how significant that it is that they're there. So yeah, that's a perfect idea. Vader's in, right? Because I remember for a while he wasn't, and then. But he got it inducted after.
I believe so.
I don't.
All right, let me pull this up.
Look it up, because I remember for a while he wasn't in there. People were like, why isn't Vader in the Hall of Fame?
All right, so Andre the Giant, Bobo Brazil, Nature Boy, Buddy Rogers, okay, blah 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 blah. Of course, these are all broken down by year. So let me just do a search here for Vader. Vader inducted Stan Hansen.
Yeah, so he's not in. Vader, and that's the thing. They wait too long on a lot of these guys, and then they pass away. And most of it, too, is how they died. And if how they died is in a certain way, then they might not ever get into the Hall of Fame.
Right.
But yeah, Vader should be in. I know Chyna's going in as part of DX, but I think that she needs to be inducted by herself, honestly, because she was a pioneer, despite whatever you think about what happened after she left, is what it is. But to me, I look at it more as what did they contribute to professional wrestling. Obviously, Benoit will never be in.
Right, which is a shame.
It is, because he's a fantastic wrestler, but you can't take away. That's just
right. I know it's tough.
How about the fabulous ones? Oh yeah,
but the problem is you can't let Michael Hayes have an open microphone at a Hall of Fame ceremony.
What do you mean, Michael Hayes?
Because he'll start talking about how he's more black than Booker T.
Wait, are you saying one of these is Michael Hayes? Because it's not. This is Stan Lane and Steve Keirn. So.
Oh, I was looking at that figure and I thought, oh, look, he has two Michael Hayes with different.
No, this is from the Remco AWA line.
I thought you had two Michael Hayes figures that you were joking were.
Yeah. Have you ever watched the fabulous ones, music videos from back in the day of them working out and the Gap Band?
The ones with the really bad lip syncing?
No, there's one that's if you look up fabulous ones, Getting Swole. It's this weird generic music that plays, and they're working out. And then there's another one that's got the Gap Bands. You Drop the Bomb on Me, and it's showing clips of them wrestling, but then it's them sitting with some haystacks, and it keeps zooming in on their face. Or one's in a bathtub, and they got a glass of wine, and it zooms in on that, and they're just doing this at the camera. So
sounds almost as good as the videos from the Pile Driver album.
Yeah, so they ironically kind of became my favorite tag team of all time because of this. And I found out that they had figures from Remco So I'm like, I have to buy these, and I did, and they came in the mail yesterday, and they look fantastic because they got like their bow ties and their suspender things on.
When you show the faces closer, I can see that they're not Michael Hayes. But when you
Yeah.
first held them up, I just thought you had two
Michael Hayes figures. Man.
Okay, so here's the question: what celebrity you think is going in? They've done Drew Carey, Mike Tyson. They did Trump. They did Mr. T. They did Arnold Schwarzenegger.
You know who should go? You know who should go in? Bob Barker, because he was the only saving grace of that guest host Raw thing.
You know, you're absolutely right. Him. And also give credit to Jeremy Piven because he purposely messed up the name of the pay-per-view to make Triple H mad and try to get him to crack on camera. And then he did that awesome dive off the top rope. If you remember, he got on the top rope and he actually did this giant splash that looked beautiful. Like if you catch the freeze frame of him in midair flying through, it was fantastic.
Kevin Federline, because he has a win over John Cena.
That's true. That would be awesome. That would be awesome in a horrible way, which I mean would suit this year of WWE.
Is Lawrence Taylor in? I know he's got his personal issues and everything too, but I mean he did main event at WrestleMania.
I don't think so.
That's probably because bad publicity. Yeah.
No. All right.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, all right. So let's get into Fastlane. We got a lot of stuff to cover.
Yeah.
And I'm actually double mugging it today. I've got my dark brew coffee in this mug, and then I've got my Killian's Irish Red in this mug, and this is what's going to get me through the show today.
Oh wow. Okay.
So
I probably should have had a beer.
Well, and I tell you what, if the beer runs out, I do keep a bottle of Old Smoky under my desk. So that's my just in case.
I would just break that out now.
We'll see. By the time we get through Raw, we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Fastlane.
All right, Fastlane. We're gonna skip most of this pre-show stuff because
Well, hey, if they don't think the pre-show counts on Survivor Series, then it doesn't count, and we're not going to talk about it.
The only thing notable really about the pre-show was New Day went out to the ring for their match, and some new backstage guy who we actually saw a couple times this week. I'm going to call him Chad. Chad walks up and says for Kofi Kingston to go to Vince McMahon's office. They'd like to talk to him. The other guys need to go out for their match. So Kofi gets all excited. Apparently he's going to get his title match. And he runs off backstage with Chad, the intern. We'll call him
Chad, the intern.
Let's see. We had New Day versus Nakamura and Rusev, which is like, this is the pre-show match. This is the match that was not good enough to put on the show, which was actually better than several of the matches on the show. Because it was fun. It was, you can definitely tell that Nakamura and Rusev have kind of lowered their intensity a little bit because these are not big matches that are, big payoff, big marquee. But you can tell they're still having fun and they're still, they're still out there doing their thing. All right, so we get to Fastlane. We get the Usos versus Miz and Shane. And so, of course, I was watching this with a friend of mine, Kevin, and as soon as Miz and Shane McMahon both walked down in the ring, he goes, "Oh, Shane's going to turn on the Miz." And I went, "What?"
I was like, someone's going to turn on somebody. I didn't know how it was going to work, but I'm like, someone's going to turn.
Well, I half expected. Well, my expectation was Miz was going to lose. He was going to go to his dad, and his dad was going to be like, "You're not good enough for me, son." And maybe his dad was going to like smack him across the face. Because they've been kind of, playing that up. Like, you're the champion and your dad didn't care, So I thought maybe they would play something up along those lines, but that's not where they went. I expected you to jump in.
I was going to say the only thing I really enjoyed about the tag match was that spot where Shane and one of the Usos were coming at each other, and Shane pretty much just like drop kicked him in the dick midair. That's probably my favorite spot in that match.
And it didn't look like that's how that had originally been planned out.
Yeah, I don't think it was supposed to go that way.
So yeah, basically Shane got up on one corner because he was gonna do a dive on an Uso, and an Uso jumped up on the other corner because he was gonna do a dive on the Miz, and they both just kind of stare back and forth at each other, and then finally they leap and they just kind of collide in midair, and it looked really bad.
But the Usos retain.
But the Usos retained. Miz's dad told him to get up on the top rope. So Miz went up there and went for the frog splash, but whichever Uso got his knees up and was able to block it, and then got the pin on Miz with the roll up. And so they hugged. They were sad. They went to the dad. They hugged. They were sad. Miz started to walk away, and then Shane just clobbered him. And then Shane started doing his like fury punches on him, and he was doing stomps, and he fatted on him a couple times because Shane is so like Shane was like a waterfall of sweat, and his face was like purple, and he like couldn't breathe.
Yeah, and
he's still going. Like, I don't know what the deal is with Shane.
I don't know either. I really don't. Like, well, even when he was young, he always sweat profusely, but just him changing, like it looks like he's about to have a heart attack.
He looks like when you skin a plum.
Yeah.
That's what he looks like.
But I knew someone was going to turn on somebody just because WrestleMania is coming up. They've just been playing it off of like, oh, we're best friends, and look at this, and something was going to happen. So I would rather it had been Shane, I guess, because Miz as a face is terrible anyway. So why not just go all out on this whole thing? Plus, it's been a hot minute since Shane's been heel anyway, and I always preferred him as a heel because he should be. Because I mean, he the
spoiled brat of the owner, right?
Yeah. So that match at Mania will not be good.
But at least we're getting that match at Mania and not another Miz and Shane versus the Usos.
True. And I was kind of hoping that Shane was going to pull over Miz's dad, like over the barricade, and beat him up too, but all he did was just shove him back, and his dad just sat there because Miz's dad's really terrible at like emoting anything.
He looks like a high school softball coach. Like, there's just something about him. I don't know what it is, but
he looks like he would just be sitting there in the dugout drinking a beer. I think it's just like that mullet thing he's got going on.
And it's like feathered too. It's like feathered over the ears. So it's just.
Have you seen Mrs. Mom?
No.
You should look. Do a Google search of Mrs. Mom and Dad together, and you'll be like, man, the Miz actually turned out to be like at least pretty decent looking compared to what could have happened.
Okay, so here's. My son is a WWE superstar. Whoa!
Yeah.
She's like a greyhound that hasn't been fed in 2 years. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Miz, feel free to send hate mail.
Yeah, I'll hate mail at popculturenetwork.com.
All right, next match.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Miz. Again, they all seem like very nice people.
Yeah,
they all seem like very nice people.
But it's weird, like that Miz turned out the way he did from that, right?
Yeah, but here's the question: what did the milkman look like?
Aha!
All right. So yeah, there was a stand-up comedian used to do this bit. He was like 6'5", and he was like, "My dad's 5'11", my mom's 5'9". People are like, "Well, how did you get to be so tall? How tall was the milkman?" And he was like, thanks for saying my mom was unfaithful." Yeah, that's just kind of a joke. All right. Let's see. We had after the match, we had Drew McIntyre, Baron Corbin, Bobby Lashley. They cut their Shield knockoff promo.
Yeah, that was bad.
We had Elias in the ring, and he talked about The Miz. He talked about Cleveland. He talked about LeBron James.
Yeah, a lot of cheap heat, but they kept doing it. How many? He had what, three of these?
Yeah, well, and he kept doing the same thing on SmackDown too. He made some other reference on SmackDown I didn't understand, but we'll get to that.
Oh, great.
So we had Asuka versus Mandy Rose. Luckily, this did not go on very long. It's kind of sad. They have nothing really for Asuka to do.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, on the pre-show, I forget who it was. someone on the pre-show, was it Christian, called her Asuka. Obviously, he was reading off the teleprompter and had no idea what her name was. So that was interesting.
Yeah, he probably doesn't watch the product anymore. Don't blame him.
Can you blame him? Yeah.
Don't blame him at all.
So basically, the idea of this match was Sonya Deville is inept, and she lifted up the ring apron to find a kendo stick, and she did it like, first of all, she did it way too early, and she couldn't find the kendo stick, so then she stopped. And then several minutes later, she went back down and started looking again. This time she pulled it out, but then she didn't pull the apron back down. And so Mandy Rose gets thrown into the ropes, and her feet supposedly hit the apron that's sitting up there, and she fell over. And
it didn't. It didn't. Oh. She may have touched it with her foot, but she definitely didn't trip. I skimmed through this match because I think there was one part when Mandy Rose was supposed to do something to Asuka, and it just completely, I can't even remember what it was, but it just like, it looked really awful. And I was just like, yikes. All right. Skim through. And then I saw the end of that, but man, like why just have Asuka beat the crap out of her, kick her in the head and call it a day?
Yeah. I don't understand. It's like they need, well, I mean, I do understand, but I don't understand. Like, I don't understand why they feel the need to add something more to this other than just have Asuka beat her and be done with it.
Yep.
But in their mind, they go, we need to set something up so that we can do a couple more matches on TV just to fill time over the next few weeks.
Yeah. So I guess the plan for Asuka is just to have a match with one of them at Mania, or like a handicap match,
or make it a three-way triple threat or something.
Honestly, maybe I'm thinking like after Mania plans for Asuka, maybe have Shayna Baszler and NXT drop the title, do hype packages for her, call her up. I'm hearing an echo on my end.
Oh, I'm not.
That's weird. Call up Shayna Baszler and hype her up like they've done in NXT, and actually put her against Asuka as like, oh, here's like this unstoppable.
Or they just announced that she's doing an open challenge for WrestleMania, and Chinese Pirate comes up, and the two of them have a match.
Okay.
And I get to see that elbow. That's all I want.
That would work.
I just want to see that elbow.
Yeah.
All right. We cut to the back. Okay, so get this. We cut to the back, and the New Day goes and they find Kofi standing outside Vince McMahon's office. So they go, you've been standing here for an hour. And you go, an hour? It has been an hour. And in that hour, we got the New Day nothing match at the pre-show. We got Shane and Miz, and we got this women's match. And that was an hour of television. So they push the door open and they go in, and Vince is on the phone, and they're like, he's been waiting out there for an hour for you. And Vince is like, I've been sitting here for an hour waiting for you. And apparently this is a backstage joke, because Vince will say he wants to meet with somebody. So someone will go to his office and they'll knock on the door, and he'll go, hold on a minute. And he's on the phone talking. And then eventually they just go in because they've been sitting there forever. And he's like, well, the person finally showed up. And he hangs up the phone. And he's like, where the hell were you? I've been waiting forever. And they're like, I knocked on the, like, are you serious? And apparently this is a thing that happens like all the time. So they made it into a bit on Fastlane.
Great. Aha. Yeah. That's fun. I love it.
Yeah. I bet. Oh, Vince is like, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right. So basically they said Kofi deserves his match. It should be a three-way. And Vince says, you're right. The main event will be a three-way. And Kofi, go down to the ring. Your match is right now. The rest of the New Day, you're banned from ringside. So Kofi gets excited, runs down to the ring. He gets in the ring. The announcer announces him. And then like the referee comes over and like whispers something. And there's like some sort of back and forth. And the announcer goes, I've been told that the championship match is happening later in the night. This is a handicap match. And they call out the Bar, and it's Kofi versus the Bar in a handicap match.
Yep. And they beat the crap out of him and pin him. I I know that they have a few weeks until Mania, and they have to build things, I guess, in their own little way. But in your opinion, do you think that this is the right way to go about this whole Kofi WWE title opportunity thing? Like,
obviously not. Okay, so here's the thing. It became very clear. Okay, so it became very clear that Mustafa Ali was supposed to be the one that was in this mix, that was going to get this title shot. He got injured. He wasn't able to do it. They swap in Kofi, and everyone's like, yes, we love the idea of Kofi. That's what it should have been from the beginning. Nothing against Mustafa Ali. You know, he's fine. He's a talent, but it makes total sense to put Kofi in there. And instead of saying, okay, cementing Kofi's spot and then building up to WrestleMania, they decide, well, we have to have a storyline where Kofi doesn't get the spot, and we're trying to redo the Rey Mysterio or the Daniel Bryan thing where they lose their spot and then they have to earn the spot back because they think somehow it's more compelling to continually screw the guy over and then finally give him a shot instead of just giving the guy the shot and then hyping it up.
Yeah.
Which to me doesn't make any sense. It only works if you have a guy who legitimately in no way works in that spot, but the crowd still wants it.
Right.
So then you have to rework a way to make it fit. Like the thing with Daniel Bryan was that he got injured. So legitimately he was injured, and so they switched plans and they threw Roman Reigns instead. And they said, well, this is great because we wanted Roman Reigns to be there anyway. And Daniel Bryan got over the injury and he's like, no, I deserve, like, I should be in the main event at WrestleMania. This was my match, you know? And so then in a sense, it's like he got injured, so he lost his spot, which is a thing that happens in the business. It sucks, whatever. But you want him back in the mix. You work up a storyline, you work your way through it. There was no need to do a storyline with Kofi.
Yeah.
It's like people bought it, people were into it, he earned it. You know, they talk about the 11 years and whatever, everything was great. And for whatever reason, they just decided, we're going to tank it and then rework it.
Yeah.
Instead of just running off the momentum it already had.
Yeah, I think they're going to end up wearing the audience down to where they're not going to care. And that's the problem with the product.
That is most of WWE, is that they overdo things, and they have so much TV to fill and they do so much stuff that instead of just, well, and it's kind of like the opposite of what's going on with Batista and Triple H, because we'll talk about that, but that's a match that has no reason for happening, and yet they're playing it off like this is something that has been going on forever, which is the exact opposite of this situation.
Isn't that what they usually do with the Triple H match at Mania?
Well, we'll get into that.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll get into that. All right, so we had Elias come back out. He did another thing, talked about Kofi Kingston losing, talked about Miz losing, compared New Day to the Cleveland Cavaliers and called them a bunch of beat-up losers. And he said the Pittsburgh Steelers were the best. So I guess, well, those are different sports. I was going to say, I guess the Steelers beat the Cavaliers, but then I'm thinking, wait, I think one's basketball and one's football, so I'm not sure exactly what's that on.
Yeah, and Elias is like his character basically is that he's a drifter, right? So he's basically just a hobo musician, and I didn't know that, like, he.
Well, somehow he's got a cable package, or maybe he's streaming. You know what? He got Fubo TV. Fubo TV gives you all the sports you need in a streaming online package, including.
Oh man, are we sponsored now?
we could be. All right, but anyway, let's see. We had the Revival versus Ricochet and Aleister Black and Chad Gable and Bobby Roode. This match I thought was fine, but it felt like it was overworked. Like it didn't need to be a three-way. It would have worked better, I think, if they just had one of the teams versus the others, and they could have done a rematch with another team. Yep. It didn't need to be this jumbled mess. And WWE is completely misusing Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode should be feuding with Samoa Joe for a #1 contender spot for the heavyweight championship. He should not be in a tag.
And he should be a heel. Yes,
and he should be a massive heel. All right. We had Samoa Joe versus R-Truth, Andrade, and Rey Mysterio. And again, another... Oh, they're the dogs. Another overworked, overdone match. Didn't need to be all four guys. Again, all of these guys are legitimate talents. Even R-Truth, a lot of people don't want to recognize that, but R-Truth is an actual talent in the ring, even though people don't like his character. But all four of these guys could have excellent pair-ups as one-on-one matches, but they keep throwing all four of them together instead of letting them break apart. I don't know why. It's still a fun match.
Yeah,
it's still entertaining. But again, it's just
seen most of it already.
Yeah, we've seen them all work in tags and mixed tags and four corners and whatever. So anyway,
still a good match. I don't want to take anything away from that. It was still a lot of fun to watch that match.
And we did get Carmella attacking Vega outside the ring.
Yeah, that looked all right.
Let's see. We had Bayley and Sasha Banks versus Nia Jax and Tamina. They had Beth Phoenix out there to be a commentator for absolutely no reason.
She's terrible at commentary. She is. And
the scary thing is she looks more jacked up now than when she was an active wrestler.
Yeah. Well,
like I don't, because usually that's not how that works.
Being married to Edge will do that to you, I guess.
I guess. But I mean, Edge isn't more jacked up. He actually looks more lean compared to wrestling.
Well, I think with him, he probably just. I'm done with it. I'm going to be lazy now. I'm an actor. I'm on Vikings.
Is he on Vikings?
I think so.
Huh.
Yeah. Good for him, though.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you can make it work, well, and especially because he was injured, so his wrestling career was over. Not much you can do. And again, he gets that Screen Actors Guild insurance.
Yeah.
So the match for Bayley and Sasha Banks versus Nia Jax and Tamina is exactly what you expected, which is a 2 out of 5 star match. It was serviceable. Mm-hmm. It was wrestling.
Yeah.
There was nothing exciting or special or great or outstanding, but of course, they had an altercation with Beth Phoenix outside. They got Phoenix in the ring. Nia Jax gave her a leg drop. Natalya ran down to try to make the save, but Tamina super kicked her. So they're setting up something with Beth Phoenix and Natalya. So.
Which is okay, because I enjoyed Beth Phoenix work. It was just a shame that she was sort of like women's wrestler in the Divas division era, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Because
so Beth Phoenix has to work with like the Laylas and the Kelly Kellys and everything. So for
wait, are you saying that Kelly Kelly was not a remarkable wrestler for her day?
No, she was awful. I remember that spinning thing that she did, and she would scream. I remember how she would barely touch the ropes when she would go against them.
So no Hall of Fame for Kelly Kelly?
I'm sure if Tori Wilson can get in, I'm sure Kelly Kelly's a shoe-in for next year. Why wait? Just induct her this year.
Maybe she could end up being the celebrity because she is a model. And she's still modeling, apparently.
Yeah, she should stick to that. Thanks, Johnny Laurinaitis.
People power.
He would just flip through magazines. You know that's how these girls got hired, right? He'd flip through magazines. Oh, she's pretty. Let me give her a call. And they'd be like, "You want to learn how to wrestle? Yeah, okay."
It's like in The Office when Michael Scott wanted to find a new girlfriend, so he found a model in a chair catalog.
And she had passed away.
Right. Well, that's probably how John Laurinaitis. He was like, hire her. She's gorgeous. And then they find out, she died of an overdose 2 years ago. That's a shame. She could have been a star.
God. The Divas division. Such a shame because there were bright spots between like Beth Phoenix. I would even throw Natalya in there, but she's still around tangling with.
She was there towards the end of it. Yeah.
I think AJ Lee would do pretty good against. I think she'd have some good matchups with the roster now, but the whole Punk thing, that'll never happen. But yeah, I'm excited to say it's just a shame that she's got to wrestle Nia Jax and Tamina, but is what it is.
Yeah. So anyway, that was not Great. They announced the WWE Championship match. This was the triple threat. So they had Mustafa Ali made his return, and everybody was just kind of like, we like Mustafa Ali still, but come on, this should be Kofi. And you could tell the crowd was like really kind of torn because they announced Mustafa Ali and people were just kind of like, boo. And then they were like, well, all right. I mean, he's cool. We wanted Kofi though. So that I think really kind of hurt the match in a way because you want to cheer for Mustafa Ali because he's a great talent and it's great to see him, come up in the mix. But at the same time, they killed his spot.
Well, I think by the end of this match, he won him over because this was a fantastic three-way match.
Yeah, it definitely helped as the match went on that he was allowed to shine a whole lot more. And Kevin Owens, as a face, Kevin Owens does a really good job of not trying to hog the spotlight from everybody else in the match. Whereas as the heel, you always want to take over and kind of be in charge to show that you're the dominant one because you're the bad guy, whatever.
Yeah.
And he does do a good job. He understands, even though people don't really trust him and they're not sure what to think about him as a babyface, he still does a good job of doing that role.
Well, I think that Kevin Owens would work as a face anyway, just because you look at his build and everything, and he kind of looks like that everyday guy in a way. So
he definitely and now that he's doing the stunner, someone made the joke that he looks like Fat Sandman, and in a way though, it kind of works because Sandman really was in a way like the hardcore Stone Cold. Like Stone Cold was as hardcore as he could be for WWE, in a sense, whereas Sandman took the beer swilling barroom brawler type thing to the next level. Like Kevin Owens is kind of like that good sort of in between spot where he's the guy, he doesn't care. And legitimately he doesn't really care. Like he's there to wrestle and he just likes wrestling and he wants to be a wrestler. So he doesn't really care about the other stuff. Yeah. So like on a legitimate level, he doesn't really care about all that stuff. But at the same time, he wants to be an entertainer and he wants to do the product well. But he doesn't look like the traditional guy. He looks like a guy who sits around and drinks a lot of beer. So it works if they start to push him more towards that direction where, they could have him come out and have, do some sort of match with somebody who's going to have someone in their corner and he pulls someone out of his corner and they bring out the Sandman just for like a one night only, it would make sense. Like it would work.
Yeah. I just hope that when you're talking about all that stuff, they don't turn it into anytime he's feuding with someone, they're like, haha, you're fat. Because honestly, yes, all right, Kevin Owens has a gut, but a dude can work. Dude's got the cardio. And to me, I'm not like Vince. I'm not like, oh, look at his body. Chiseled out. Granite. Oh my God. Like I'm not that, like, I don't care what they look like. Go out there and perform and put on a good match and like have some good holds. But I like the fact that he has a stunner because he had the pop-up power bomb, but the stunner is just the perfect move. Like that, and like any of the cutter moves, like the diamond cutter, RKO, whatever. That stuff that you can just bam, you hit
out of nowhere. It's just out of nowhere,
and it's done. Like it's good to establish that move. It's like once you hit that, it's done. Now I hope that not too many people start to kick out of this because then that's when it loses its luster, and the stunner should not have that.
Okay, here's a question from the YouTube chat. If you could set up one storyline or match between any number of current wrestlers, who or what would it be?
Man. Jeez. All these on-the-spot questions.
Well, think about that for a while. Think about that. We'll come back to that after we finish Fastlane. So anyway, it basically came down to Brian and Ali finishing up the match. Ali tried to do a tornado DDT off the second turnbuckle. Brian, though, was able to hit him with a running knee instead and got the win. And so Brian celebrated, and Mustafa Ali looked strong, For a guy who was injured and out and came back out of nowhere, he still looks strong. But the question is, what are they going to do with him going forward? Like, where does he fit anywhere else into the mix?
Program with Samoa Joe for the United States Championship, probably.
Which seems like a really big drop from being the mystery man in.
Yeah, but at the same time,
I mean, I like Joe. Don't get me wrong. I love, but again, I don't think Joe should be U.S. champion unless they use the U.S. championship as a jump off for getting.
I totally agree with you. I think that it needs to be a launching pad for him to move forward, but I also want them to actually put the time to build him up with that, put some prestige back in that championship, for God's sakes, and work with that. Because the fans love it. If you watch his entrance every time with the swagger that he's got and the way that his music's like, the way he's going to his music, and then you hear the crowd's like, Joe. It's just like, it makes for an awesome presentation of his character. But I think that's what's going to happen. I think it's going to be Mustafa Ali is going to feud with Joe for that. Because it makes sense. I don't want to see another Joe in a 4-way or a triple threat with Andrade or Rey Mysterio. Just have Andrade and Rey Mysterio have a match at Mania. Maybe do something crazy and go back to like the Mexican wrestling heritage and do like a mask versus hair or something. Because Andrade's got a decent amount of hair. It's like all the time. Do something like that and have Andrade losing his head shaved. Or
have R-Truth be the special guest referee wearing a mask, and then Andrade can win, but Rey Mysterio escapes, and Andrade beats up R-Truth and unmasks him. And it's completely pointless, but it's WWE.
Yeah. It could be like the Mr. America. See, honestly, what R-Truth should do is do like the Mr. America thing all over again.
I love that gimmick. I'm glad you brought that up because I thought I was the only one who loved that gimmick. I don't know who you're talking about, brother.
Yeah, and then they did the lie detector test.
That was great. All right.
Yeah.
We had Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair in a match that was absolutely pointless.
Yeah.
The two of them wrestled. Okay, so basically the setup was the two of them had a match.
Yeah, I forgot how that match ended, and now I'm remembering all of a sudden. I'm like, oh my, why did they? So convoluted, and it doesn't have to be.
Here's the problem. The two of them have a match, and the idea is if Becky Lynch wins, then she gets to be added to the match at WrestleMania. Okay, great. Ronda Rousey wants Becky Lynch in the match at WrestleMania. So they start the match. These two wrestle for like 10, 12, 15 minutes. I don't remember how long it was, but it was a while. And then suddenly Ronda Rousey comes down to the ring and she attacks Becky Lynch, which means Becky wins by disqualification. So now Becky's in the match, which on paper, great. Okay, fine, whatever. But in actual presentation, why would she wait 15 minutes for this match to wind down? If this is what she wanted, why wouldn't she just run out as soon as the match starts, clobber Becky, instant disqualification, Becky wins, and then she's out of there?
Because they have 4 hours to fill.
And that's the problem.
They have 4 hours to fill for their pay-per-view. It goes back to the Kofi thing. It's like, all right, we know on paper, we know where it's all heading, right? We know, we see it for WrestleMania. We know what they're planning to do. And yet they just have to do these dumb things to just extend and just like convolute it. There's no.
Well, and the problem is, like you said, we know where this is going. And the thing is that if it were to not happen that way, like if it was a swerve, if they were to do this week after week after week and then end up not giving us the payoff, then it would be a huge rejection of the product. People would be pissed. And people would be booing and thumbs down and giving 1 star to all their apps and unfollowing on Instagram and Twitter.
Oh no.
You know, exactly. Which is the stuff that WWE wouldn't want to happen. And there would be a backlash. So you know they're going to do it. You know it's going to happen. You know they're working towards it. But they just keep stringing you along in these dopey angles instead of just building hype for the match.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we should have come out of Fastlane and every match should have been cemented. And even some of the matches, the match at WrestleMania, is cemented. And then the match at Fastlane, is almost some sort of like placeholder type thing. It doesn't need to be that big of a deal because you're not selling monthly pay-per-views anymore. It's more of like just the last hurdle you have to get over in order to get to WrestleMania. But it's not like you're paying $59.95 to get Fastlane to see who's going to be in those matches, because after Fastlane, you still didn't have some of these matches cemented. We still don't have a full card. They still haven't played the whole Kofi storyline out. So it just boggles the mind.
Know how it's going to end, which is the weird thing. Like,
exactly. It's like exactly where it's going. And I don't know why they just keep stringing it along.
And I'm sure there's some people that watch it and don't know. Like my grandfather, for instance. And this is what doesn't make sense to me. My grandfather has been watching wrestling, honestly, probably since wrestling's been on television. So he watches everything. Like when Superstars and stuff was on TV, he would seek it out and he would watch it. And after all this time, repeated storylines and everything, he still is just sitting there watching it like a little kid. And I wish I could look at it through those eyes.
More credit to him for that.
But it's just funny because I talk to him about it sometimes.
That's one thing I like about watching, when you watch some of the stuff like ROH and Major League Wrestling and, some of this other stuff where some feuds will go month to month to month, but a lot of them, it's like, it's 3 weeks of build for a special, a pay-per-view, a live event, and then it resets. And they have 3 weeks to build up for the next one. And so you don't, like, after the guy successfully defends his title, you're not 100% sure who his next opponent's going to be. Like, it is kind of a surprise, like, who's the next person who's going to step out and try to earn that shot, as opposed to what we see in WWE, where everything is telegraphed along for so long that as long as there's not an injury or a suspension or someone gets arrested or gets a package of steroids in the mail or, something, or, gets hit with leukemia or something, as long as, you don't have this curveball that comes in real life that has to force them to change it, exactly where things are going 4 months ahead of time. Yeah. Like, it's just so obvious the way they play.
It's been that way for years.
It's been, ever since like 2000. I'll give the one thing I will give Vince Russo credit for, and this is the only time I'm going to give him credit for pretty much anything.
Yeah,
is that he developed that Crash TV style where things could hit out of nowhere, but he could layer them in a way where, even though something would hit you out of nowhere, if you look back 4 months before, it kind of made sense. And he layered stuff in such a way that a lot of the stuff he layered, and that was, again, with the help of Vince and with the help of a lot of the other people backstage.
Yeah.
It was all set up. It took until like maybe 2002 for all the stuff that was set up in 1999 to play out.
Right.
Which is great. Once he went to WCW and he didn't have those other guys helping him, it fell apart.
He didn't have Vince like reining him back in.
Right. But after 2002, when a lot of that stuff did finally play out, they just hit this current rhythm.
Yeah, well, I think that's when they sort of really made that shift to, we got to get TV writers. We got to have a writing team. Because before with Russo, it was like Vince, Russo, Cornette, Patterson, Jim Ross. Like, it was like just a small circle of people laying out, here's what's going to happen. And now it's like, here's 12 people on this writing team. Here's 12 people on this writing team. And it's just, and it all has to filter and go through Vince. And
I think part of the thing too was when you had the wrestling guys working the wrestling show, they would then go to the road agents and they would say, this is the type of match we want. This is how it's going to work out. As opposed to now you have TV writers. The TV writers go to the road agents and say, this is who's coming out first. This is who's coming out second. You've got 12 minutes to fill. This is the guy who's got to win. And you have to throw in some sort of twist here at the end to set up for this other match. But they don't give them any sort of push on what the layout of the match would be, or what they just, because they don't know. They're TV writers.
Yeah.
So it's up to the road agents. And 9 times out of 10, the road agents aren't even talking to each other. So you get a lot of the same stuff happening in the same matches in the same night, because the road agents are all sitting there going, okay, well, this is what we've had for the last 3 weeks. We're going to mix it up and throw in something different, but they're all throwing in the same something different, all because they're all thinking the same way as this is what the show needs. But then you get 4 of the same thing happening in the same night.
Yeah.
And it just like it's not good. It's not compelling television.
And I want to say too, the other thing that I did enjoy about the Crash TV, the Attitude Era stuff is everyone had something to do. And even that, sometimes like the lower card guys were kind of like intertwined in a bigger storyline that involved the main event guys. So it seemed like everyone had something to do. Everyone was involved with the show. And I guess you kind of see that in the crowd reactions, because if Rikishi and Too Cool can get over like gangbusters and everyone's cheering them every week, or like the Godfather, like everybody, like the pops that Val Venus was getting in the Attitude Era is probably up there with the best pops of today. And like, that's kind of where we are. Yeah, it is. They need to find a way to make you care about everybody and be excited about everybody. And instead, it's just crickets most of the time.
All right, so we go back to the homeless musician, Elias, and he talks about Cleveland is a terrible town. They had Lacey Evans walk down to the ring.
I'm so tired of that. I'm so tired. Just do something with her, please.
Which I thought they were doing with Heavy Machinery 3 weeks ago, and it turned out not to be a thing. So she turns around and walks away. They cut back to Elias, and he's like looking at her like he expected something to happen, and it didn't happen. So of course he's staring at her, and the moment of the night, the greatest moment of the night, he's staring at her, and out of nowhere, Randy Orton appears, RKO, lays him out.
Yeah, I liked it too, because you could hear the crowd. They're like, oh, and then you just see it all of a sudden. Oh, all right, yeah.
And I laughed hysterically for like 5 minutes after it happened.
But it wasn't over there.
It was the best moment of the night.
Because AJ Styles was there as well.
And so then Orton like goes to celebrate whatever. He looks back and there's AJ Styles up on the top turnbuckle and hits him, and AJ Styles celebrates. And there you go. So
I am actually legitimately excited about their match at Mania. Even more so now. Once we get to SmackDown, we'll talk about that promo, which was amazing.
Yeah, I was going to say that was and I have some more thoughts on that promo. So anyway, our main event of the night was, of course, the Shield reunion versus Drew McIntyre, Baron Corbin, and Bobby Lashley.
Time ever. Last time for the Shield. Dean Ambrose is leaving. His contract's up.
You know, and the thing is, like apparently he legitimately has not signed a new contract. Like, that is true. But the way they keep hyping it, it's like you got to think there's something up. But
I think he's staying.
But the way they're hyping it, though, it's like, how does he stay? I almost think that he's going to leave. Like, he's legitimately going to leave. And then for SummerSlam, they're going to do something. They need someone in their corner. They need some mystery opponent. There's going to be some mystery partner, something. And Dean Ambrose will magically reappear.
Drake Maverick.
That's what you think will happen?
Primo.
Maybe they'll announce that Drake Maverick is going to be making a debut, and then Dean Ambrose, whatever. Yeah. But anyway, the way that they're doing it makes me think, because again, he legitimately has not signed a new contract. It makes me think that he will leave. Maybe he's just going to take some time off for a couple months and then come back as some sort of mystery third man in the corner or tag team partner or something like that at SummerSlam.
I don't know.
But anyway, they had a match and it was a thing, and then it was over.
Yeah. Shield won.
Yeah. Oh, what?
Yeah. Shocker.
And then of course they do the thing where Seth Rollins is like looking at his fist. I'm like, oh, is he going to turn around and clobber Roman Reigns? Awesome. And he puts the fist in. And you're like, oh, okay. And so then Roman Reigns walks over and he puts the fist in. And they both kind of stare at Dean Ambrose. And I'm like, oh, are they going to turn on Dean Ambrose now? Like, because he's leaving the company? Are they just going to turn on him and beat the crap out of him? And then you'll never see him again? Like, this could be it? No, he just puts his hand in and the show goes off the air.
Ooh.
That was Fastlane. So Fastlane got me out of the coffee and onto the Irish Red already.
Which it's not even noon for you.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Yeah, it's only 11:30 in the morning.
I'm proud of you.
Well, because I started thinking about this Raw. The more we started talking about Fastlane, it got me thinking about this Raw, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, because this Raw, I gave up and restarted this Raw like 3 times.
I honestly, I didn't even watch the highlight thing I did. I just went to WWE.com and just read the results. I was like, oh, yep.
I tried watching it live. I made it through about 35 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started watching the DVR, and I made it past the first hour mark. But then I was just like, I can't give this any more time today. Like, I am just like, I'm done.
I don't blame you.
Done. And I was dealing with, getting the new dryer ordered and trying to get it set up for delivery and everything. I was just like, I can't. The last thing I need right now is this dumb show. So finally, last night, I just kind of fast forwarded and watched through the rest of it and then watched SmackDown. And SmackDown, I watched 90% of it as it, live as it played out. Whereas Raw, I just had to keep fast forwarding through.
So guess what, everybody? SmackDown is the show of the week once again.
Yes.
We haven't got to it yet, and we're just going to throw that out there. SmackDown was the show to watch. Anyway.
All right, so the Shield came out, and of course they recapped everything. They talked about, of course, that Dean Ambrose. I don't know if you've heard, but he's leaving the company.
No, you understated this too. This is their farewell speech?
Yeah, well, they said like the Shield was going to come and give like a State of the Shield address or something. Like, I forget exactly how they worded it, but they worded it as something weird. So you thought it was going to be a much bigger thing than it was. But basically, Roman Reigns just came out and said, if that was my last match, I have no complaints. And it's like, really? Like, all right, I guess, whatever. He goes, tomorrow isn't guaranteed. And, Ambrose, I don't know what's next in store for you, but I wish you all the best. And Dean Ambrose just kind of had this look on his face like, yeah, whatever. Like, well, he's like, just retire. Who knows? So then he talked to Seth Rollins, and they started this big "Slay the Beast" chant. They were trying to get that going, and
great, yeah, because it is on his T-shirt.
And everybody hugged, and then they all shook hands and hug again, and then I think they hugged maybe one more time, and then they left. And Ambrose just didn't say anything, didn't do anything, and just left.
Okay.
So then Rollins is in there on his own, and he didn't want the Slay the Beast chant. He tried to start a Burn It Down chant. So then everybody starts chanting into that. And then
the audience just starts ripping up the chairs and everything. And
they just start setting fire. Yeah. So suddenly there are these big metal drums, and they just start setting things on fire. Who knows where it came from? But Paul Heyman comes out, and Heyman interrupts. And they do this interesting little back and forth where Heyman actually allowed Seth Rollins to get some digs in on him, which was kind of fun. Because if Heyman doesn't want you to get, a certain thing into a promo, he'll make sure that it doesn't work in.
Yeah.
And he allowed some digs to come through, and it was actually really good. But basically what Rollins brought up was when Brock Lesnar is fighting a big, lumbering tough dude and his 2 tough dudes, that he comes out on top, but he has a much harder time with smaller, faster guys who have a completely different style. And he, said that he's one of those smaller, faster guys. Paul Heyman played some sort of video package, and he said, you're going to have to face one more challenge or whatever. Shelton Benjamin comes out because apparently Shelton Benjamin helped train Brock Lesnar to become a wrestler, so he knows Brock Lesnar's style. Apparently, Shelton Benjamin is like the taskmaster of the WWE.
They both went to the University of Minnesota. I think they wrestled each other a little bit, and then when they were in OVW, when they both signed, they were a tag team as the Minnesota Wrecking Crew.
Oh, see, I'd forgotten they were a tag team. Okay, that makes more sense. All right.
Which, I mean, that's a nice throwback. It's nice to see Shelton Benjamin on TV again.
Honestly, I'd forgotten he was still employed by the company.
Yeah, because they do a fantastic job of letting you know that they have all these great talents on their roster.
And that's the other thing is like I was watching this match, and it was like a 10-minute match, so it went on for a little bit, and it was actually really entertaining. Like I forgot Shelton Benjamin cannot cut promos to save his life.
He can work.
When he is in there just wrestling, he is great. They just need to find him a mouthpiece or a valet and push him.
It already works itself. Pair him up with Lesnar and Heyman. Why not? They were a tag team before. Let him be a tag team again.
And especially if Lesnar leaves, then let Heyman talk for Benjamin.
If Heyman wants to stick around.
Well, I think Heyman's one of those guys who would say he's leaving, and then like 6 months later, he's like the Terry Funk. Like he's a guy who is just never going to retire. He'll never be out of the business,
which is good because he loves it, and he has a great mind for it. It's just
he's just horrible at business and should never run his own.
Yeah, and him and Vince don't really get along that well. Well, him and Stephanie too, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's more Stephanie than Vince.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see what happened then. Finn Balor came out to okay. So, all right. So they did this weird thing, right? This is the thing. So Rollins wins. Belgian waffle. Belgian.
How drunk are you?
That's not, it's going pretty quick. Shelton Benjamin leaves, and Seth Rollins is in the ring, and he's, like celebrating whatever. And then they had Finn Balor's music hit, and Finn Balor came out. And so you're like, well, what's going on? Like, is there going to be some sort of like Finn Balor, Seth Rollins? Like, are they going to have some sort of promo or whatever? So as Finn Balor is like on the stage doing his thing, you just see Seth Rollins kind of walk up and look at him, and they do a little, like whatever. And then Rollins leaves and Finn Balor walks down to the ring. And they've done this several times in the last month or so. And it's always so awkward to have the guy for the next match come out while the guy who just had a match is still in the ring or coming up the ramp, and they don't have a confrontation. Like it's not there for them to do anything against each other, just so they can ships in the night, passing. It makes no sense. I don't understand what that's all about.
Maybe it's a little bit of foreshadowing,
I guess. They had sorry, that was something else. They had Bobby Lashley and Finn Balor have a match for the Intercontinental Championship, and for some reason, Bobby Lashley won his title back.
Whatever. I think having that title, like it works for him. I would honestly, I would rather have Finn Balor up higher in the card.
Here's the thing. Seth Rollins just did a promo with Paul Heyman where he said Brock Lesnar has a hard time beating guys like Finn Balor. And then they had Bobby Lashley come out and defeat Finn Balor in a 10-minute match.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't really think that stuff through.
And granted, you had Leo Rush get involved, but I'm pretty sure in that match you had Paul Heyman do some sort of distraction on Finn Balor anyway. So, this is going back to the whole thing where the road agents aren't talking to each other about what's going on, because they're like, go out and say this in your promo, and they have no idea that in the next segment there's going to be something that goes against something they just talked about.
Yeah. Well, isn't that's typical WWE. Let's just contradict ourselves throughout the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even remember. Oh, so Finn Balor, he hit the sling blade. He tried to go up on the turnbuckle, but then he heard the bell ring. So he turns around to see what's going on. It's Leo Rush ringing the bell. So he chases after Leo Rush, but then of course Lashley is able to hit him with the spear. And so Lashley pins him and becomes champion again. So then Leo Rush holding the belt, smiling. I got it. You got it. You got it back. You got it back. And Bobby Lashley's looking at him and smiling. And even though they did this whole thing where he attacked Leo Rush after he lost the title and whatever,
forget about that.
Yeah, it's like, you helped me get it back, so it's cool. It's all water under the bridge. Or Bobby Lashley's just too dumb to remember. I don't know.
I guess where do you go from there? Do we get a rematch at Mania? Like what happened? I don't care. What happened next?
Next was the worst promo in forever and a half, which is another Ronda Rousey promo, almost as bad as the last one she did.
Well, you do know that she does suffer from a form of dyslexia, right?
Okay, but that shouldn't affect you cutting a promo off the top of your head.
I don't know. There's something that she posted that she has some sort of issue where, like, she'll talk, and then she'll just, like, her mind, she'd still, I don't know.
Well, the problem is, part of the problem with her cutting a promo is she always looks like she's on the verge of tears, like she's scared.
Yeah.
Like she has an anxiety about public speaking, which if you do, you should not be the one cutting the promo. You should have a mouthpiece.
Yep.
That's the whole point of managers and valets. And as someone who was a manager from 2002 to 2011, and then again starting about 3 years ago, I can tell you that the whole point of having managers and valets is someone can't talk. You have someone come out and talk for them.
If she's heel now, why not put Heyman with her too? MMA people, like it would work.
You know what? And the way that she talks about how in her promo, she was cutting some sort of promo about how something like this is real and this is going to be a real.
I'm tired of that
battle and whatever. And she was like making some sort of reference to the fact that she's a real fighter from MMA. Like it would make sense if Paul Heyman just started, this faction of MMA people.
The new dangerous alliance. Why not?
The NDA?
Sure. The National Dental Association.
4 out of 5 MMA fighters brush their one tooth with Colgate.
9 out of 10 recommend Trident gum.
All right. Actually, you know what? They would recommend Trident gum.
Hey, that's what I chew. Hit us up, Trident.
Trident gum will not only freshen your breath, but it'll also clean and whiten your teeth.
Exactly.
9 out of 10 dentists recommend. Go to popculturenetwork.com/tooth for more information about Trident gum.
Wait, no, you should have been like, to see how you can get a $1 off coupon.
I got to see if Trident has some sort of, promotional thing for streamers. Who does Trident gum? I was looking to see if it was part of like some big, but it's Mondelez Global LLC. So it's not like Nabisco or something. I thought, but ADA accepted. It is ADA accepted by the American Dental Association. It even has the ADA seal right there on the back. So,
oh man, how about that? And it lasts longer than 10 minutes, so it's no juicy fruit. Double mint. And
it's bursting with more flavor. All right. So anyway, it was really bad. Dana Brooke, of all people, came out.
Yeah.
Now, is there some sort of MMA connection with Dana Brooke or something?
No, she did like bodybuilding competitions.
Okay. Well, Dana Brooke, who's not talented, came out and said, I'm not going to let you disrespect this business and disrespect everybody in the locker room and whatever. And I
can just hear her voice cutting that promo too.
It was bad. So she said, you normally, have some sort of open challenge after a pay-per-view, and I'm here to accept your open challenge. And so Ronda Rousey instead just beat the crap out of her, threw her out of the ring, beat the crap out of her, threw her in the ring, threw her in an arm bar, whatever. A bunch of referees jump in. One referee that you recognize, and then 3 guys who look way too built to be referees wearing shirts. And so you go, wow, someone's going to take a hit. And sure enough, she breaks the arm bar. She goes to leave. She turns around. She comes back. She wallops one of the referees, and then she leaves.
But did it look real?
It did not. It actually looked pretty good. The guy's bump looked better than her punch.
This is real.
Yeah.
Okay.
Real.
Wow. It's probably for the best that Dana Brooke just got beat up like that. I would.
Yeah, I'll agree with that because I did not want to see a 10-minute match with Ronda Rousey and Dana Brooke.
And in the right workings, Dana Brooke can be okay. She was entertaining in Titus Worldwide. That was fine. When who was she paired up with in NXT? I can't even remember now.
Was it Charlotte?
It may have been a little bit, and that was fine too. Like it worked out because, as Paul Heyman always said, you want to accentuate the positives and hide the negatives, and he always found a good way to do that. Not only with the production of his show, but the talent that he had, and they need to kind of evaluate that a little bit better. Maybe protect some of these guys so they don't go out there and just look like complete and total fools. You know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that ship has sailed.
Yeah. Because, I mean, like, think about that from a talent perspective. If you're Dana Brooke, you're like, all right, well, obviously, in your head, you're probably pretty confident that you're like, all right, I'm not as good as, like, Bayley or Sasha Banks, but I do have something to bring to the table. And they're like, oh, well, you're going to go out there and do that. Like, that would make me nervous as a performer. It's like, that doesn't play to my strengths at all. You want me to go out there and cut a promo? I'm not really that good at that. And then you go out there and, like, I can't imagine from a talent perspective how that feels. Or if they go back and rewatch any of their stuff, I would hate, That's why I can't go back and really rewatch these. I just listen to the beginning and the end of all the other shows that we do. That way I can, like, put the audio here and the audio there, and I'm done with it.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
All right. We had Ricochet and Aleister Black against Bobby Roode and Chad Gable in a match that was like way too short.
Yeah.
They let Ricochet and Aleister Black just kind of run wild and take everything, which, I mean, again, I think they're misusing Bobby Roode.
They're misusing Chad Gable as well. He's an amazing talent. He shouldn't be in a tag team. He should be doing that Kurt Angle gimmick, more or less.
He should be in the U.S. title run. And Bobby Roode should be in the main event run.
Yeah. Totally agree with you there.
Anyway, they did a match. It was just real quick, no big deal. And then Ricochet and Aleister Black went to leave, and they had the Revival come out and attack him. So obviously they're doing some sort of thing there. Roode and Gable, Roode and Gable came up on the ramp like they were going to get involved, and then the Revival backed off. So there's still going to be some sort of thing going on between all these teams instead of just going down to one team versus one team.
And we still got what, three weeks?
Yeah,
till Mania.
We had a moment of bliss, which moment apparently means 20 minutes of rambling. She said she was going to announce the host of WrestleMania, and then they announced that the host of WrestleMania was Alexa Bliss. So obviously they have nothing for her to do on the show. So she's just going to run.
Makes me wonder if she's still hurt and they just haven't fully cleared her yet. Because I know that she had like concussions and some other stuff, and she worked the Rumble, but she hasn't been working a whole lot. I'm
scared. I'm fearful because she said that in the past, Kim Kardashian had been a host of WrestleMania, which I don't remember, but that may be true.
She showed up for like a segment on Mania.
Maybe, but I'm afraid that they'll have her reappear at this WrestleMania and they'll do some sort of thing where Alexa Bliss talks smack about Kim Kardashian and Kim Kardashian slaps her, and they do some sort of big, because it'll be on Entertainment Weekly.
Sorry, I'm gonna hang myself with the cord from my microphone.
Don't do it. We still have SmackDown to talk about, and that's good. SmackDown is probably the one thing that saves wrestling at the end of the week. You know what I mean?
Right.
They did this thing backstage where Chad, the intern, comes up to Braun Strowman and he says, "Your car is here." And Strowman goes, "What car?" And then he stares at him. And he stares at him, and he stares at him, and it slowly starts to fade out as he's staring at him, and staring at him, and staring at him, and staring, and then it goes to commercial. You're like, okay.
I think this is all to promote a toy, too, by the way.
Well, they come back, and there's this car in the parking lot and it has this big bow. It's like this convertible sports car thing. I'm not a car guy, but you can tell it's some sort of expensive sports thing. Has a big red bow on the hood, and Chad, the intern, is sitting there with a letter for Braun Strowman, and he pulls out this piece of paper, and Braun Strowman's like, "Who is this from?" And so he reads this thing, and it's the two dudes from Saturday Night Live, and they were apologizing for what happened, and they got him this car as a gift, and there was they threw in some knock about how he got screwed over for some sort of match, and it's like, well, they can't screw you over like that anymore, ha ha ha, lol, JK, see you at WrestleMania. And so then Braun Strowman looks at this car, and he decides to do the Street Fighter 2 on it, and he just starts breaking it, smashing it, ripping off the door, ripping out the seat, smashing the windshield, ripping off the hood. And you could tell, like, it was all...
You've seen the toy that they're coming out with, right? I feel like this is to promote that toy.
Is there a break-apart toy that they're coming out with?
I'll look it up. You keep going. I'll look it up for you.
Well, so basically, he rips apart this car. He's tossing pieces all over the parking lot. And then he goes back to Chad, the intern, and he says, you go tell Jost and Michael Che that the next time I see them, it'll be live from New York. And he steps on. So apparently Braun Strowman's going to make an appearance on Saturday Night Live.
Awesome. Here you go. I'm gonna send this to you. Where'd it go?
Where are you sending it?
Through Messenger.
Oh, okay. I shut down Facebook, so I'm gonna have to go back. Hey, someone sent me a message. Boom. Here it is. And we've got... Oh my gosh, that's the car.
Yeah.
That's the exact...
It's to promote a toy.
Okay, here we go. We're going to share this. Share. Boom. WWE Wreckin' Slam Mobile. Destroy the car and the competition. Oh my God. Holds 2 figures and stores accessories.
So now if you want to recreate Brock Lesnar throwing that car door, now you can.
And hitting somebody in the crowd.
Yeah.
So this is, that is exactly the car. It was red with the black hood, and I'm pretty sure that's the same model. I don't know if they licensed the car or what the deal is, but yeah, that's exactly the scene of what it was.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you go out to your local Walmart or Target and be on the lookout for your Braun Strowman Slam Mobile.
WWE Wreckin'. And they spelled Wreckin' wrong. So they spelled Wreckin' like the way Vince makes fun of Ted Turner for saying wrestling.
Yep.
That's incredible. All right. They had the homeless musician in the ring, and people started cheering. So he tried talking about how terrible his hometown was because he was in Pittsburgh. And all I could think of, he mentioned Pittsburgh, and he cut some sort of long promo after that. And all I could think of was years ago, Kelsey Grammer did a sitcom where he was a newsman from Pittsburgh. And all I could think of the entire time was him and Patricia Heaton in these sexually suggestive poses that someone kept snapping pictures of and making billboards and advertisements out of. Which, by the way, if you've never seen that show, it's called Back to You, and I think it might be on Amazon Prime right now. It's a great show. It's definitely worth checking out. That was hilarious. It was one of those shows that it died because of the writer's strike. The writer's strike ended up killing her.
Okay, yeah, I kind of remember that now.
And because of that, she left to do the middle, and he started doing movies and whatever. And so, or he would do. Is that when he started doing Boss? Maybe,
I don't know.
But anyway, that show was fantastic. I love that show.
Are you also a Frasier fan?
I am a Frasier fan.
Okay.
Actually, I have several. I asked actually for my birthday and for Christmas. I asked for seasons of Frasier on DVD because they don't have them on Blu-ray. So I have several seasons on DVD, and they're still on my list, so I can get the whole series because I love that show.
Okay.
Are you not a Frasier fan? Can we not be friends now?
It's better than Seinfeld, but it's not something I like go out of my way to watch. I'm turning heel on you, dude.
Oh man, you're off the show. I'm bringing in Tyler. All right.
Or worse, you're just like, I got a new co-host as Brutus Beefcake.
Dude, if I could get him in a heartbeat.
And if you ever
bring some class to the show,
I'm gonna be like, here's my. It's like, all right, let's open up for questions. I'm like, yeah, I have a question. Why do you suck so much?
All right. So this is where the homeless musician drifter started talking about Antonio Brown.
Yeah, all right.
I thought maybe you did you.
I think he got traded somewhere. I don't know. I don't keep up with football. I know that he was on that Masked Singer show and got eliminated first or whatever. And now I hate myself because I know too much about
the Masked Singer.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. They had No Way Jose come out, and he now looked like he had been attacked by a can of Sprite. He has long green hair.
Is it all green?
It's like I couldn't tell if it was like beaded at the end and it was just straightened and painted green, or if it was green beads all the way down. But he has long straight hair now instead of the giant party fro.
I guess that was his way of like, if I change up something, maybe they'll put me on TV more. And I guess it's working.
I guess so. But he was wearing all green and yellow. So like I said, it looked like he was attacked by a can of Sprite. So then he's like partying around the ring. So Elias does a leap through the ropes and attacks him and beats the crap out of him. And he gave him the drift away on the ramp, which actually looked pretty brutal.
All right.
I give him credit for that. That did look good.
They could do a lot more with No Way Jose, because in NXT, once again, the crowd loved him. He put on fun matches, and now he's just Adam Rose 2.0.
Ooh, man. Wow, he's got no chance.
No, he really doesn't. And I get it. That gimmick doesn't really lend itself to have a chance in long legs, but still, like, do something with him. Make him drop it and change it. Still have him be No Way Jose, but like tinker with the gimmick or something.
Well, the gimmick would work as a heel who would, I'm not giving you any chance. There's no way.
Well, yeah, but probably what they'll do is they'll do what they did with Adam Rose. Be like, I'm not going to dance and party for you people anymore. And that'll be the extent of it. He'll still have like the same music and everything else, but he just won't dance. I'm like, oh, okay. That's a lot of development there.
All right. So we got the Harlem Heat announcement. And then we had Nia Jax versus Natalya. Nia Jax, of course, had 80-year-old Tamina in her corner, and Natalya had Beth Phoenix in hers.
Tamina does look pretty old.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, again, Tamina, I'm sure you're a nice person, but the hair going crazy and the way too much eye makeup, and it looks like maybe she's wearing like stuff on her cheeks to like enhance the cheekbones or whatever, and it just makes her look ancient.
41 years old.
Wow. All right. So Nia Jax was beating up Natalya, and Beth Phoenix somehow got involved. I forget. I don't know if she just jumped in or what the deal was, but it was a DQ. So it was a whole bunch of, back and forth. And then the heels left as Beth Phoenix was like, trying to help Natalya up and whatever. And then they cut to the back. And right as Nia Jax and Tamina walked through the curtain backstage, there was Sasha and Bayley beating them up backstage. And they go back and forth fighting, and everybody's trying to push them apart. And there was this hilarious moment. Fit Finlay comes up behind Sasha and puts his arms around to pull her back. And for like a half second, he realized his hands, as he was going to grab her, were going to just straight up grope her. And he realized he's like slow motion. You just have this like look of panic. And so he suddenly grips his hand with his other hand and makes a fist and just drives it right into her midsection and starts pulling her back like this. It was almost like slow motion CPR or Heimlich maneuver like type thing coming in. And so then he's holding her like this as she's fighting. I'm
actually gonna have to look that up because
it was hilarious. It was so awkward. Then they showed Batista arriving. So Triple H came out, and surprise, surprise, Triple H is not in a suit. He's in jeans and a leather jacket because fighting Triple H is.
The King of Kings.
the leather of leathers.
Yeah.
So then Batista comes out, and Batista stands there, and Batista acts like he's going to talk and then doesn't talk, and acts like he's going to talk and doesn't talk, acts like he's going to talk and doesn't talk. And then he turns around and looks to the back, and he has a security team come out and separate them. And basically, here's the promo.
I saw a supercut of this. I thought,
okay, it's like, give me what I want. I'm not going to give you what you want. Give me what I want, Triple H. I'm not going to give you what you want. Triple H, I'm going to slobber. I'm going to spit. Give me what I want. I'm not giving you anything. I'm not giving you what I want. Give me what I want. I'm not giving you what I want. Give me what I want. I'm not giving you what I want. Give me what I want. I'm not giving you what I want.
This went on for
you want a match at WrestleMania? You get a match at WrestleMania. And then Batista leaves.
How long was that segment? About 20 minutes?
Oh my gosh, forever? Like, it may technically still be going on. I don't know if maybe they just cut away and they cut to a different arena for the rest of the show.
I saw the cut and it was, that was hilarious.
And like, he legitimately said, give me what I want. And he wouldn't say what he wanted. He just said, you know what I want? Give me what I want. And like, it just kept going back. It was terrible from both sides. Like, neither one. And the whole thing made no sense.
Did Triple H call the security team the Guardians of the Indies or something?
Yes, he said the Guardians of the Indies. Yeah. But the thing is, when did I miss something? Like, was there some point where Triple H called out Batista and Batista never had a chance to respond? Or was there a point where Batista said, I want one more match with Triple H, and Triple H said, no, I don't think that's going to happen? And so all of this, because it just seems like Batista comes out of nowhere. He says, you know, I want a match. And I'm just sitting there going, why? Like, why?
Yeah, they need to sort of establish that, right? That's what they could have done with this promo.
So this is what I was talking about earlier. Like, this is going backwards.
Yeah.
From the promo. It's setting up the match. And now they have 3 weeks to give us the justification for why they want to do this match, even though we've had 3 weeks, 4 weeks of trying to set up this match.
Yeah. A better way to have done this would have Triple H out there cutting the promo, have Batista like sneak up from behind, beat him up, and then kind of go from there, or even work it in another way where have him beat up Vince the way he beat up Ric Flair or something.
Well, what they needed to do, this is what they needed. They needed Batista to go on live with Kelly and whoever her random co-host is now, or Good Morning America.
I think it's Ryan Seacrest.
It could be. I don't know.
Who cares?
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just trying to say, one of these morning shows, he goes on one of these goes on Ellen or something, and they talk about, it's like, well, you've been doing these movies, but you used to be in wrestling. Are you done with wrestling? And he goes, well, Triple H and I didn't leave things on the best of terms. I'd like to have one more match against him, but I think he's afraid of me. And you get people in the crowd go, woo, whatever. And then they can show that clip on Raw, and then Triple H can get mad. And then he can be like, well, there's no way I'm ever letting that guy back in the company. And then, boom, you've got your justification.
There we go.
And that would have been perfect on so many levels to set this up. Instead of now we just have random attack and Batista. And the funny thing is, it's like Batista, I kind of get the feeling he wanted to say more, and they told him don't talk a lot because we're going to have to do stuff over the next 3 weeks. So they told him just basically repeat the same thing over and over. And so, like, it looked like he was trying to spit as much as he possibly could when he was screaming it. Like, there were times, like, it was a ridiculous amount coming out of his mouth. It's like the amount that you expect when you see a guy get punched in the face.
Yeah.
Or they take a super kick or something and they do that spray out in the air. It's like he was trying to do that while he was talking. Like, you can almost, like, maybe he ate like a sour candy or something right before he went out, so his mouth would be making all this extra saliva. Like, he was doing something, trying to spit this ridiculous amount while he was doing it.
There are a multitude of ways to just go about that, and that's what they decided to go with. It's sad.
Yeah, that was probably that may have been the highlight of the show was Batista's slobber, but it was in the middle of a terrible promo.
Yeah.
So anyway, they had Kurt Angle come out and he said Pittsburgh was his hometown. And again, I'm thinking Kelsey Grammer. And he starts talking about he's going to be ending his career at WrestleMania, but he thought it would be great to have one last match in his hometown. And so they brought out Apollo Crews, who's apparently a friend of his backstage. And the two of them have been friends backstage for a long time. So they had a match with Apollo Crews. And Apollo Crews just basically let Kurt Angle beat him up and get all his moves in and pin him in a couple minutes.
Yeah, great. Makes Apollo Crews look really strong.
Yeah. Well, and then at the end, he picks up Apollo Crews and the two of them hug and they, leave together. So great. It's like he got that one last match on Raw and he got to wrestle a friend, but it was 3 minutes and it was, pretty bad.
Well, any speculation on who you think his opponent will be?
No.
I know.
Who?
It'll be John Cena.
You think John Cena's coming back?
Yeah, I think it'll be Angle and Cena because if you think about it,
that was John Cena's.
Cena's first match, and now it can be Kurt Angle's last.
So you think we're gonna get ruthless aggression, John Cena? You think he's gonna come out and start like rapping? Are we gonna get the old entrance music?
No. See, when he debuted against Kurt Angle, that's when he was still wearing like the tights.
When he was the prototype.
Yeah, he hadn't gone. Yeah, he hadn't gone to the Thugonomics yet. So, okay. Why not bring out Cena in the tights? That'd be funny.
But he'd have to cut his hair, and he's got longer hair.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've seen that, but he's got Jim Varney Ernest hair.
Yeah, he is gradually turning into Ernest.
He is.
But no, right. I think that's who his opponent will be. John Cena. Bank on it.
All right. We had Roman Reigns versus Corbin Burnson, and it was a nothing match. It was dumb.
Yep.
There
was that one spot though where there was the miscommunication where, gosh, that got me thinking like Corbin Burnson every time, and I'm like, no, it's Baron Corbin. When he does the thing where he like slides and goes around and slides back in, like around the post, and he was gonna do that, but like Roman lifted up his leg like he was gonna kick him, so it was like this weird, like he hit him but he still went through with the move too, and it just looked really nasty.
Yeah, so they only let this go for a little bit, and then Drew McIntyre attacks, and so Drew McIntyre's fighting, and finally McIntyre like kicks him and stomps Roman Reigns' head against the ring post. And so then they bring out all the referees and everyone's checking on him, and maybe he has a concussion and whatever. And so they help him up, and they have a trainer out there, and they take him backstage. And so then backstage they have Ambrose and Rollins, and they're saying, "Go get checked out by the doctor." And he's like, "No, I'm fine. They're like, "No, you got to get it checked out. So he goes in to get checked by the medical professionals. Dean Ambrose gets mad, and so he leaves and starts huffing and puffing, and he just happens to run into Triple H. And so he demands a match with Drew McIntyre right now, no holds barred. And Triple H is like, okay. All right. So then apparently it's a match that's no holds barred. So it's a falls count anywhere, no holds barred. Drew McIntyre, Dean Ambrose. And so they go out. And it was weird because they start fighting in the crowd and whatever. And they just so happen to go to the press box where all the people, the Sports Illustrated, the Entertainment Weekly, the ESPN guys, like all the guys who are there from the major publications who are, there for Monday Night Raw to do the write-up, the guys from CBS Man Cave, where they're all set up on their little desk.
They actually send people to these shows?
Oh, well, I don't know that they send them, but there are guys who do the write-ups for their websites and their magazines and whatever. And so they go to the shows. Yeah. So they have a press.
Sucks to be them anyway.
So they actually brawl through the press area. And, so I'm sure all of those, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I was in the middle of this thing. And then they fight down to the side of the stage, and they're beating everybody up, and they fight on the announce table. And at one point, Drew McIntyre picks up a pencil and acts like he's jabbing it in Ambrose's eyeball. And all this time, Renee Young is just sitting there going like, oh my gosh. I can't believe, like we know. Okay, WWE, like we know there's a connection between the two. people may not know that they're married, but they know there's a connection. And for her to just stand there and for her to not like pick up her chair and throw it at McIntyre or do something in the middle of this, and for him to at least like pie face her back and have, neck tattoo beard guy grab her and like hold her back, Corey Graves hold her from, whatever, so she doesn't get involved. But for her to just stand there looked so dumb. Looked so ridiculous. So anyway, there's steps on the side of the stage, and there's like a little safety handrail, and so he grabs Dean Ambrose and sticks his head and arm through, so it looks like he's kind of stuck and he can't get it out. And so he does the what do they call it, the Claymore kick into the side of Dean Ambrose's head, which breaks the railing off of the stairs, and he falls down, and he's, oh my God, they killed him.
He's broken in half.
And
did it at least look cool?
No,
it didn't. I was kind of, because I didn't see it, but I was hearing that.
I mean, it was one of those things where, like, he puts him in the guardrail thing, and the thing is like not, it's like it's barely moving. Like you can tell, like it's attached, right? Like they put him in this thing and it's like rigid, and then they cut to McIntyre, like backing up and getting ready to do this kick. And then they cut back to Ambrose, and you can see the thing is like moving a lot more freely. Like there was somebody underneath that as soon as they cut away, he listens on the headset. Oh, they cut away, and he's like, clip, and now it's loose. So then he hits, and it like jangles and falls down,
Wow.
But it was like by that point, they had done so much stuff, and like he got jabbed in the eyeball with a pencil. He should be bleeding. You know what I mean? Like there should be. Like that should have been like when you stab a guy in the eyeball, getting kicked is not as big of a deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was, I don't know.
That was raw. Chug the rest of that beer, sir. Let's move on to the liquor.
So then we got SmackDown, and SmackDown, I will drink to SmackDown. Not in a bad way, but in a thank you, SmackDown, for existing this week. SmackDown was actually super fun. All right, so we got Shane McMahon came down, and he had the Best in the World trophy, the WWE, I think it actually said like World Cup on it.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. I don't remember what that's from.
Yeah, it was the World Cup tournament that they did, and then the finals was at Crown Jewel, and it was supposed to be, man, was it like Dolph Ziggler and The Miz or something? I can't remember. Anyway, Shane took the place of somebody and won the thing, and I'm like, what? But it's cool that they're bringing that back. Let it just roll with it. That's fine. So
he went in and he cut the promo that he is, basically the rich spoiled brat, and he's the best in the world because he was born into it. And the promo was not great, and it went on too long, but at least it made sense and it worked, But it was not great. So. But anyway, he said he was going to beat down Miz at the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania. So there you go. They've cemented the fact that there's going to be a match. They had a giant tag team cluster of the Hardys, Aleister Black and Ricochet versus Nakamura and Rusev with The Bar. So they're doing this 8-man tag going back and forth. And you're just kind of sitting there going, oh, man. Like, again, and too many people and a giant tag, and nobody's really getting, like, we're getting this again. I can't believe. And then the New Day comes out, and the New Day just goes absolutely crazy. And it was almost like a heel beat down. Like, just start beating the crap out of everybody. And you see guys like Aleister Black and Ricochet and the Hardys they like kind of back off, because they don't want face versus face. So they just allow the New Day to beat the crap out of the heels and chuck them out of the ring. And the New Day, they're just like pissed off about everything that's going on. So that kind of redeemed it there at the end, because you're like, oh, wow, they did something different. Like, this was actually kind of fun.
And it leads to something else.
It'll lead to something in the back. So then they cut to the Usos doing another terrible promo. Apparently they were at the Uso penitentiary. I don't know what the deal was. It was dark and full of smoke and whatever. I don't know. It was bad. They had Randy Orton come down to the ring. Okay, so as I said, I did chug a little too much of that beer. I've been fighting that for a couple minutes. Randy Orton comes down to the ring, and I see Randy Orton doing the normal Randy Orton thing, right? Where that snake persona thing that he does. Of course, he's the Viper, he's the Legend Killer, he's the Apex Predator, whatever. But he does that thing where he walks down and he really kind of has like the saunter, like he doesn't care. You know, he calls it his slither, but he just kind of walks down and is really kind of loose and kind of apathetic to everything going on in the world around him. And I thought, I don't know that I've seen him really cut like a deep, energetic promo with this persona. You know what I mean? Like I've seen him go out and just say things to guys, but not really like work himself into a frenzy. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I don't know if that would work. I don't know if he'd be able to go out as this character and work himself into a frenzy in some sort of promo. And apparently he read my mind through the TV screen because he did it and it worked and it was phenomenal.
It was an awesome promo.
So speaking of phenomenal, of course, he calls out AJ Styles. And and he actually referenced TNA.
Yeah.
He talked about how he was doing when Randy Orton debuted, this guy was wrestling in the bingo halls or the warehouses in front of 25 people. And then he said he decided to go to Florida and work on his tan and hang out with Dixie Carter.
Yeah.
Which that was a reference I never expected WWE.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Which he may not have, cleared that beforehand. Talked about how he was the youngest champion in history, which was true. So then, whatever. He said this isn't the house AJ Styles built, it's the house that Randy Orton built. So, of course, this calls out AJ Styles. And AJ Styles talks about how he's proud to have come from the Indies. Guys in the Indies have to work harder. They have to prove their worth. They don't just automatically get a spot because of their dad, which is very true. That's how, Randy Orton. And just as a fun side note, I used to work shows with a guy who went to the Harley Race School. And he went and he trained at the Harley Race School. And in his class was Ted DiBiase Jr. and Randy Orton.
Wow. And
so he came back, like he was gone for 3 months or whatever, training down there. And it was one of those things where you stayed, you kind of worked through this course, but then you could stay longer and like get more training and whatever. So some guys leave after 6 weeks and some guys stay on for several months and just, try to get experience and try to work their foot in somewhere and whatever. And he came back and they were like, we were all like, what was it like? Was it whatever? And he goes, well, I was there with Ted DiBiase Jr. and Randy Orton. Those two guys are going to be on TV. No one else in that class is going to go anywhere. And you were just like, oh, wow. And that was from him. And he went there, and it's like, so he realized when he saw those two guys get in there and wrestle, not only did they have a connection, but they also had great physiques and they also had a natural chemistry and they were going to do much better in the business than, anyone else could hope for that was in that group.
Yeah. Well, I figure most of those guys are just like, yeah, I went to the Harley Race School.
Yeah. Well, and some of them are. Some of them
put me on your show.
They'll go and they'll be there for a week and they leave, but then they still put, on their letter that they send you that they were at the Harley Race School.
Yeah, we locally we kind of have that around here because Jimmy Valiant, the Boogie Woogie Man, yep. he's got a training camp around here, and a lot of those guys are just those those guys just want to play wrestler. Like they're not in it to be like, I want to do this and pursue, and I want to get to WWE or wherever. Like, I want to make money off of this. No, it's basically they want to do it for like the 6 weeks or whatever, and then do like these local indie shows and be like, oh well, and try to be, and that's fine or whatever. But I just.
Well, and that, I mean, to be fair, that is more or less what I do. But I learned early on that I don't like to travel. Early on when we first started doing it, and it's like you get in a car and you drive for 4.5 hours to get to a show, to work in front of 35, 40 people with a bunch of people you've never met before, in front of a crowd that you've never seen before, to sit backstage for an hour and a half, to go out to work for 12 minutes, then go backstage and sit for another 45 minutes, to then get in the car and drive 4.5 hours home.
Well, no, I'm saying like these are the guys that don't commit to that on a week-to-week basis. They did the class, they'll do 1 or 2 shows, but then they still walk around like, I'm a wrestler.
Ah, I see.
Those are the guys I'm talking about.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they would show up all the time and be like, yeah, look at me. I'm like, I don't know. Whatever. Anyway. Let's move on.
So Randy Orton does work himself up into a fury, and he and AJ Styles are going back and forth between the idea of, was Randy Orton taught by the best by being around guys like Ric Flair and Triple H and Batista and these other guys, or were they the crutch that got him through to give him the appearance of being better, to cement him in that top spot? So by the time he was finally ready for it, then he could walk away from those guys and pretend like he deserved to be there all along.
I enjoyed that bit where AJ Styles was bringing all that up, all the stables and groups and factions he had been a part of. And it really does make you think. It's like, man, all the times that he was main eventing like that and winning championships, he was part of a group.
He was. And so the promo worked well. It set up their match at WrestleMania well, because you know it's coming, even though they haven't announced it. But basically, he says, okay, if you're going to prove that you are the best and that you deserve to be this top guy, let's have a match at WrestleMania. And Orton just kind of stares at him and leaves.
Well, I did like the line where he's like, I'm the landlord.
And the rent's
due, you son of a bitch. The way that he said it, that whole promo, I'm sold on that match. I'm excited to see what they can do in that. Well,
and especially if like those two guys at WrestleMania getting a 25-minute match.
Yeah,
that's going to be not, pun intended. That'll be a phenomenal match.
I hope anyway, because I was hoping that when AJ Styles and Kevin Owens were having matches, but the chemistry just wasn't there. I'm hoping that the chemistry will be here with Randy Orton, and I feel like it will be. And I in my head, I already know how the finish is going to be. He's going to go for the phenomenal forearm, and he's going to catch him with an RKO in mid.
Well, although I kind of expect something like that to happen, and for Randy Orton to celebrate it for a minute, like I finally showed you, I got you,
and then AJ kicks out.
Right? Yeah.
Either or. Has AJ Styles re-signed at all? I know his contract was coming up.
That I don't know. I'd have to go.
All right.
So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was cool. That may have been the highlight for me on the show. That may have been the best thing on the show for me personally. But what? You're thinking about it, huh?
Yeah. Well, this is salty caramel whiskey, and it really smells good.
Can you show me the bottle again?
This is Old Smoky, Tennessee.
Okay, yeah. I think that when I went to the liquor store a couple weeks ago, I want to say that they sort of had like a display for that, like a big, huge.
Well, Old Smoky also does a moonshine.
Okay.
And so I've had their moonshine before, and I like their moonshine, but I usually just get the straight White Lightning, the non-flavored moonshine. Yeah. It just tastes like corn and alcohol, basically. And so they had a display set up, and they had this there, and I thought, normally I don't like to get flavors in liquor, but something about the salty caramel just made
I'm kind of thinking about that right now
because sometimes you get a liquor or a beer, depending on whatever hops and wheat and whatever might be in it, and it kind of has a caramel taste to it because of the sugar that gets refined into the alcohol, and so it just made me wonder. I bet that's pretty good. So actually, you can see there's a little bit that's been taken out. I had some the other day, and it is quite tasty. So I am going to pour a little bit into this glass, not because there's any problem with SmackDown, so to speak, but because it is tasty, and now it is 12:23, so it is afternoon. So technically, like, it's okay to drink now.
Yeah, the rest of your day is set. So
here's to Old Smoky, which, by the way, Old Smoky, find it at your local liquor store. If you want to find out more, go to popculturenetwork.com/Old Smoky.
Old Smoky.
Right. Anyway, and so then when you're done drinking and it's time to go out of the house and talk to people, that's when you have the Trident gum to cover the smell of alcohol on your breath. So
don't drink and drive, kids.
have you been drinking? No, I just like caramels or caramels. If you prefer.
Tomato.
All right.
I
did need a drink, though, to get through this next segment, because this is Asuka versus Sonya Deville with Mandy Rose in her corner. I will say this, because they wanted Asuka to have a match with the two of these to set up some sort of feud between the two of them. They picked the right one to be on the pay-per-view and the right one to be on the TV match. Because Sonya Deville is not good.
Yeah.
She's again very unsmooth. She's robotic a lot of times. Her moves don't flow one into the other, and especially when she has to run the ropes and springboard off the ropes and try to hit something. It's very much she runs to the ropes, she stops, she bounces off the ropes. She starts to run, she stops, she hits the move. And it just looks not great. And you put her in a match with someone like Asuka, and Asuka just like rolls and moves like a natural. like someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Mandy
Rose and Sonya Deville got called up too quick. They should have stayed in NXT and sort of developed
experience.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Can they send them back to Ohio Valley at this point, or is that not a thing?
No. Yeah. Well, I think OVW still exists, I think, but not under any sort of.
What was the one in Florida that actually had a TV show for like 6 months?
You mean before NXT?
Yeah, there was
FCW.
Was it FCW?
Yeah.
Where was it?
They would wrestle in like a warehouse, and they would have like the giant posters of
yeah. They had
like
a purple entryway that they came.
Yeah, FCW.
Yeah. That was interesting. That's where they need to go. They need to go back down there. Like, they're not good enough for OVW. They can go back down to Florida Championship. All right. So anyway, they did a match, and this time, of course, Mandy Rose, she went to like mess with the ring apron, and it caused Sonya Deville to lose her foot. Like, Sonya Deville was standing on it.
Why are we still doing this again?
And Mandy Rose went to pull it out of her way and somehow caused her to slip, or it was dumb. It didn't work. It looked terrible.
I wish this was vodka.
Well, you know what? Hopefully our fan in Russia, Nikolai, maybe he's got a good hookup for some Russian vodka. Maybe he can send us a case.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Is there anything potatoes can't do? All right.
Yeah,
so
not wrong.
Asuka nailed her with the kick, with whatever that kick is called. I just call it the death kick, but I think
they just call it the Asuka kick, don't they?
I don't know, but it should have a name because it's fantastic. But she hits her with the kick and applies the submission move, the lock, and she wins. And so, of course, she leaves. And Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, they get mad at each other and they're angry. And so now we're going to have to suffer some sort of match between the two of them.
Great.
And then they cut to the Iconics, who cut some sort of video promo, and they were challenging Sasha Banks and Bayley to come to SmackDown to have a match with them.
I'm okay with that. I like the idea of the traveling women's tag team champions, and they actually, Sasha and Bayley showed up on NXT as well, so I like that idea. It opens up more possibilities.
I don't have a problem with that. I just think it should be the champions should come and then be challenged, as opposed to getting this video promo calling them to your show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's kind of like, we're the champs, why should we come to you? I get that.
Yeah. All right,
Makes
so
sense.
They had Becky Lynch. She comes out onto the stage, and she's on her crutch, and she hobbles on the crutch for a minute, and then she just tosses the crutch away, and she still kind of halfway limps down to the ring, but obviously she doesn't need that crutch. So almost what we called out a while ago.
Yeah, but I still like the idea more of that's an obvious weakness, right? So it would have been cool if Charlotte tried to do that again, knocks the crutch away, and Becky's still just standing there like, oh, hey, I'm better now, and then beats the crap out of her. Like, why not do that? Oh, because it makes
because
it would
Danny DeVito right in the show.
It would elicit it would. I can't talk now. Am I drunk? It would elicit. No, I wish I was.
Were you game streaming last night? Is that
no? I need to do one of those. It would elicit a response from the crowd, and we can't have that. They just need to sit on their hands and not make any noise.
So, let's see. Becky Lynch said that she played Ronda Rousey's head like a fiddle. And she said she made a thing where she said, do you know how hard it is to play mind games with a woman who has no brain? Which got a good reaction from the crowd. It was kind of a good line, but it built up way too much to get to that line. But anyway, Becky Lynch, I still like her promos. She's great. So they had Charlotte come out. Charlotte, said, it's one thing to be hot for 6 months, but I've been hot for 4 years. And I called shenanigans because that mole has only been gone since the Royal Rumble. But anyway, they talked about how, of course, they were going to get a match. And she said, you will bow down to me because I'm the queen. And she said, people don't need the queen. People need the man. And apparently that was the end of the promo, and they cut back to the back, and they had the unnamed female backstage announcer on SmackDown standing in front of the McMahon office, and out comes champion Daniel Bryan and Rowan. And she's like, what were you talking about? And he said, we were talking about wrestling. Well, what did you say? And he said, that's not for you to know. Well, what did Vince McMahon think? And Vince McMahon put us in a tag match tonight against Mustafa Ali and Kevin Owens. I don't know why they had to do that setup, other than Vince had a throwaway line in the promo with Kofi at the end. Otherwise, it didn't make any sense.
TV writers, man, what can you do?
TV writers. All right. So we had Rey Mysterio versus R-Truth in a tag match against Samoa Joe and Andrade. So again, you're getting all these guys mixed together. But if you did not watch this, go look at Rey Mysterio's ring attire for this match. Because Rey, normally he comes out and he's got like the pants that look like, the pajama pants thing. They have the 619 written on them.
Yeah.
He came out wearing a suit that was like a low-cut singlet, but it went down to long pants. But it was all flesh-colored, except for 619 written on the legs. And then right in the crotch, they painted a little black, it looked like a little black G-string. So he was wearing like a male stripper.
I'm looking at it now. What the hell is that?
I mean, it was like, it took me a minute. Because at first I noticed that it had, I'm like, is he wearing suspenders? Like you had just talked about Andrade wearing suspenders in NXT. And I was like, wow, that's a terrible look. And then he came out and I'm like, is he wearing suspenders? And it took me a minute to realize, no, he's dressed like a male stripper.
Wow, that is really bad.
And I don't get it. I mean, it is what it is, but boy, that was. I mean, I know he likes to wear different stuff, like, you know.
Wow. There's one where Andrade suplexing him. Yeah, it just looks like a thong painted on his tights.
Can you screen share? Can you screen share that for anybody who's watching?
Yeah, let me get. I want to find one to where we can actually like. Let's see. All right.
Okay.
What do I?
You hit the little green box with the arrow.
Yes.
And then pick application window and pick your browser.
Okay,
nope,
so
that's me.
There you go.
Yeah, so you can see that it's a flesh colored suit with those like suspender things. I don't know what they're called.
Now, is it doing the thing like if you're talking, then they can only see you?
So no. I've set it so it's showing your screen. So
okay. All right. Well, let me flip through this because there's like the front, and now we can see like the side view, and you see how the boots are just like that. What like
he's wearing cowboy boots or something?
Yeah.
And so there you can see it looks like he's just wearing.
Even Zelina Vega is like, "What are you wearing, dude?" Over here in the corner.
Well, and this particular screenshot is, blackmail material.
Yeah. But so there we go. There's the like that might be up there with when Shawn Michaels won the title in the Elimination Chamber. He's just wearing like those turd brown tights, and it was just bad. Like that is horrible. I hope he doesn't. I hope that's a one and done thing. He needs to not wear that anymore.
It reminds me of WWE several years ago when they had that writer who wrote himself onto the show as like the fat male stripper.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Big Dick Johnson.
Yes. And so he would come out and like oil himself up, and then somebody would do a move on him. And you're just like, why is this writer on my show doing this? Well, here's like, I don't know if this is like Ray's way of saying, put me in an actual feud, or I'm going to do more dumb outfits. Or what the deal was with this.
That's bad. People don't need to see this anymore. I'm going to stop sharing.
All right. So anyway, that was that segment. It was a fun match, though.
Yeah.
It was a really fun, high energetic match, but whatever. Joe tried to do a move on Mysterio. Mysterio rolled him up, got the win. So you had this moment where Joe, got to celebrate, but then Joe turns and looks at R-Truth and Andrade and decides to beat the crap out of both of them. So even though he was a teammate with Andrade, it was just he doesn't care that they were on a team.
That's how Joe needs to be.
Yeah, that was good for Joe. So I mean, it was a little awkward, but at the same time, it made sense.
Yeah.
So then, that being the random tag match of opponents put together for the U.S. title, they then followed that up with the random tag match of all the people involved for the championship. So they had Daniel Bryan and Rowan versus Kevin Owens and Mustafa Ali. Which, it was fine, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just a TV match. Like, I guess I kind of expected more out of it, especially because Kevin Owens and Mustafa Ali have done some great stuff last times that they've been in these types of matches. But Rowan, again, just does not fit with all these other guys. He's lanky. He's lumbering.
I will say, though, I do like his take on the choke slam, where he's just grabbing him by the head and lifting him slamming him down. I like that. But that's about all. That's about all I like.
It's almost like a Mad Dog claw to the face, except a little higher, and then turn into a choke slam. Which is fine. It's great, but he is not. He's not at the same level of athleticism as all the other guys in this match.
Yeah,
and a guy like Joe, you look at Joe and you think Joe could have a match with Brock Lesnar, because he's another big, tough chunk of dude, and they could just, break the ring and whatever. But at the same time, Joe can have a match with Rey Mysterio, and they're both doing flips and rolling around and doing great stuff. Like, Joe is a talent that they're not using correctly. But
no, I totally agree with you. He should have been champion a long time ago.
all right, so they had the match. Rowan tripped up Owens when Owens tried to do a cannonball off the apron. And so Rowan then hit a blind tag and hit the Iron Claw on Mustafa Ali. And then he was able to pin Ali. And so Brian and Rowan, they get up and they immediately start to go for the back. And Vince McMahon's music hits and he walks down to the ring. And somehow Samoa Joe... not Samoa Joe, Mustafa Ali, and Kevin Owens just disappear, like just never to be seen again. I don't know what happened to them. Maybe they ran under the ring, and maybe they're still there. I don't know.
They got abducted by ninjas like Samoa Joe did in TNA.
Maybe they did the reverse of what was it, the Brood, when they came down on wires on the Hell in the Cell. Maybe the wires came down and they just attached it to them and took them straight up. I don't know.
Sting did when he rescued DDP on Nitro.
Right? Yes, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
So then Vince McMahon comes out and he said he had given Kofi Kingston an opportunity, but Kofi Kingston had failed. So, of course, New Day's music hits and they come down to the ring and they were looking all serious and pissed off and they were yelling and screaming and talking about the 11 years. And Vince McMahon said, look, Kofi doesn't deserve anything. And Vince is like, he's being the heel, but he's trying not to be a heel.
Yeah.
And it's really weird because he'll say, you don't deserve it. And of course, everybody boos. And then he goes, you're a talent. You've got some skill. You do great things when
you got the Rumble spots. They're fantastic.
Right, exactly. Right. But you just haven't proven that you're a main event caliber guy.
The line that I really liked is he say Daniel Bryan says that you're a B+ player, and I was like, oh, that's like a good callback to just like, new Daniel Bryan's the best.
Who was the guy? Was it Sanders? Was that his name? The guy in WCW who was like, his gimmick was he's a solid B+ player. Do you remember that guy?
I thought that was above average Mike Sanders, right?
Is that who it was? Above average Mike Sanders? But he's the B+ player?
I'm going to look it up because it was remember the Natural Born Thrillers? It was like Mike Sanders. What was that one guy's name? Was it
Mike Awesome and Chuck Palumbo? Is that?
No. It was Mike Sanders, Sean O'Hare, Chuck Palumbo.
Oh, right. Sean O'Hare.
Was Stasiak in there? And Mark Jindrak. And then they had... Oh God, what was his name? His finish move was like roll the dice, but the thing Cody does is like the inverted, like rolling.
Rio?
I can't remember.
Vegas? It was like Vegas or Rio or something like that.
Now I'm digging through all this stuff.
All right, so above average Mike Sanders.
Yeah.
He's a stand-up comedian and former professional wrestler.
Oh, great.
So there you go. Reno. Yes. Okay. There we go.
What happened to that guy? Retired in 2003. He's 50 years old now. Wow. Okay. Wow. That's cool.
And it's weird because now I'm looking through this thing and it's like Chavo Guerrero Jr., WCW Worldwide, Thunder, Crowbar, Juventud Guerrero, Sean Stasiak, Chuck Palumbo, Natural Born Thrillers. I'm like, I kind of want to watch all that stuff because that stuff is better than Monday Night Raw. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like I want to watch Thunder and Worldwide from 2000 instead of watching current Monday Night Raw. That is,
I don't know. You say that now, and then when you actually sit down and watch, you'll be like, "All right, yeah, I was completely wrong about this." Anyway,
although I don't know. I look at some more of these names. Kwee-Wee.
Oh yeah,
Kwee-Wee. LaRue.
Yeah, Lash LaRue, man, the Cajun sensation.
Evan Courageous, Elix Skipper, Jamie Noble. I mean, I would like to watch those guys.
Yeah, the Young Dragons and Misfits in Action. And you remember when Booker T joined the Misfits in Action? He was G.I. Bro.
G.I. Bro, yep. Because that was his original gimmick, and he wanted to get it in before they went off the air.
Yeah, that theme was kind of cool.
I like that. All right, so anyway, they continued going on this thing. Vince McMahon he said, Kofi Kingston, look, he sees a lot of promise. He sees a lot of talent. Someday you will be in the WWE Hall of Fame, but not as Kofi Kingston. You will be there as part of the New Day.
Damn, savage.
But I mean, at the same time, it's like people like the New Day. So it's that line of like, it's kind of a heel thing, but trying not to be totally heel. Yeah. He's like just trying to balance himself just right. So anyway, he said, so Kofi started cutting this promo, talking about 11 years. He's given 11 years to the company, and he's given up family vacations, and he's never gone trick-or-treating with his kids, and his son lost his tooth, and he wasn't there when his son reached under the pillow and got the money from the tooth fairy. He says he's missed all of that. He's not complaining about that. He's not, blaming it on the company. He's just showing that he's dedicated to the company. He's dedicated to the sport, and he believes that he's deserved the right to at least prove that he should have a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Which, okay, fair enough. So Vince McMahon says, fine, next week you have a match, and if you can beat this man. And so then they had Randy Orton come out. And then suddenly Samoa Joe's music hits, and Samoa Joe comes out, and Vince McMahon says, and this man. And then the music hits, and the bar comes out, and he says, and this man. And then Daniel Bryan's music comes out, and Rowan walks out, and Daniel Bryan is just kind of standing behind him. And he goes, and this man in a gauntlet match. Then you have an opportunity at the championship next week here on SmackDown. So next week, Kofi Kingston, gauntlet match against all of these guys in order to prove that he's worthy of getting a shot at WrestleMania.
So here's how I see it. It's going to be a lot of interference. I think AJ Styles is going to cost Randy Orton when he goes against him. Hopefully we get some more callbacks to the whole stupid thing where Randy Orton, like Kofi messed up something like 10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. So I think AJ Styles will cost Randy Orton. Someone's going to cost Joe, maybe. There'll be some shenanigans. I feel like there's going to be a lot of shenanigans. I feel like the only two people he'll really beat without much interference will probably be Cesaro and Sheamus
because they get no love in this.
They get no love. And I think Daniel Bryan will try to do something, and it'll backfire, and he'll beat Rowan, or they'll have Kofi lose somehow, and then because we still got 3 weeks, and they'll just continue to drag it out.
What would be great is if Daniel Bryan throws the title in the ring for Rowan's to clock Kofi with it. Somehow it gets reversed. It gets maybe dropped on the mat, and Kofi hits Trouble in Paradise on Rowan, and Rowan falls down on the title and breaks the wooden title. And the title like snaps. And so then you'd have like the scene of Daniel Bryan like crying that his belt is broken. Is like one of those scenes. And so that makes him furious. And so then for the next couple weeks, he comes out with like, not duct tape, but maybe like a hemp bandage wrapped around the middle of the title, holding the pieces together of his handmade wooden title.
That would work. Why are they not hiring you to write these shows?
And not only that, but then you have 2 versions of that title that you can sell to children.
There you go.
And I'd buy the broken one.
And he's thinking ahead.
All right. So anyway, there we go. Again, SmackDown, much better, much more entertaining show. I don't like the idea that they're, running this storyline with Kofi again and again and again and again and again and again and again instead of just hyping up the match. But at least they're finding ways of making it entertaining as we go along, and it makes SmackDown as a whole, as a show, work a lot better than anything that's going on in Raw.
Exactly.
All right,
took the words out of my mouth.
Going back to the question we got an hour ago, what storyline or match between any number of current wrestlers, who or what would it be?
I honestly I was just concentrating on the other stuff.
I tell you what, though, seeing Shelton Benjamin come back and knowing he's got nothing going on, I'd like to see him in something.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as like who he would wrestle against, I think even though he's a heel, he hasn't really been seen. He's not really known. if they set up something with him and Samoa Joe for the U.S. title, or is it the U.S. title?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
Like I couldn't, like, there's so many, like, was that Intercontinental? No, that's U.S. If they set up something with the two of them going into a program, I think Shelton Benjamin and Joe could have some good matches.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not a headliner, it's not a pay-per-view main event or anything like that, but I think it'd be entertaining.
Right.
You get some good matches out of it, and again, it shows that Joe can work with a lot of these smaller, faster guys that they usually don't think he can compete with because he's a bigger guy.
You know what, I would like to see Chad Gable and Samoa Joe have some matches.
Okay.
I think the promos would be pretty fun because Chad Gable does have a way of I don't know, you probably didn't see any of his stuff in NXT, but there's a thing where Jason Jordan was looking for a partner, and he kept tag teaming with other people and it didn't work out. And Chad Gable every week would show up and be like, "Hey man, I'll be your partner. I'm ready, willing, and Gable." And he would like pull out the towel, and eventually it had like that.
Right,
on
like
towel.
I remember that being a thing. I remember because they came to SmackDown and they were doing with Kurt Angle coming out as Jason Jordan's dad and all that stuff.
I'm glad. I want to forget about that as soon as possible. But I would like to see Chad Gable and Samoa Joe. I think those would be very entertaining matches.
What happened to Jason Jordan?
He had to get surgery on his neck, I believe, and they're like, don't know if he's coming back or if he's kind of done. So they've had him sort of like training as a road agent.
I wonder if that's the Kurt Angle match for WrestleMania, as the return of Jason Jordan, father versus son.
But how would you work that in? He would just be like, "I'm mad at you because this." Like, who would be like Jason Jordan?
Well, no. They could just set it up as simply, this is going to be your final match. It would be my honor as your son if I got to wrestle you in that final match. So they set it up for WrestleMania. And then, of course, during the match, Kurt Angle is getting over on him and he gets pissed and he turns on his dad and tries to clock him with something and whatever. And he turns heel. And Kurt Angle could still win, but it would set up him as a heel. And then they could set up a program with him and Gable to continue on after that.
Okay, I guess. I don't know. Whatever.
I mean, we don't know what Kurt Angle's
John Cena. It's going to be John Cena. John Cena doesn't have a program. I wonder if Undertaker. I guess he's not going to be at this one.
No, he's supposed to be at the Grand Jewel 2 or whatever they're going to call it, but I don't think he's supposed to do WrestleMania.
Weird.
I think he's decided that he's done with the WrestleManias because it's not the streak anymore, so it doesn't make any sense for him to still be there.
Well, it'll be a Crown Jewel, though, to get that money.
I was going to say, but if he's going to do one a year, he's going to do the Crown Jewel where he's going to make like $20,000 for one appearance.
Can't say I blame the man.
Yeah, I would not blame him either. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for the show. Don't forget, you can go to popculturenetwork.com, check out more, or go to lockerroomhq.com, which is part of the Pop Culture Network. Check out everything having to do with anything that might be doing with pro wrestling or even soccer on Locker Room HQ. You can find this show on podbean.com or find us in iTunes by looking for the Pop Culture Network podcasts, which we are, of course, a part of, or apparently any number of dozen Indian or Russian or Taiwanese or whatever podcast aggregators we are apparently a part of all over the internet that we had no idea going on about.
Yeah, that's strange.
And don't forget, you can send us an email, just like we talked about one today. If you send us an email, dirt@popculturenetwork.com, then we'll be sure to read over it, and maybe you'll even hear it on the air as we respond to your questions. So that's going to do it for me, guys. Thanks for watching.
Pants off, dance off. No beefcake in the Hall of Fame.
So cold.